Every couple of years there seems to be a major change in the place where I play and store my games, and when that happens I like to give a little tour to show you how the new space is. The last video I did, the last video tour, was in my old gamer cave, which was in the basement of the previous house. It was a nice place until one day I had the water infiltration that damaged several games, and that really was painful. Then later, last year, we moved to a new house. Not because of that, but I cannot deny that I was happy that the new house that we found allows me to keep my games above ground. In fact, my game room now is a game house, is a game building. Basically, we have the main house, and then on the other side of the backyard there is a mini building, a separate studio building that has become my gaming area, and this is where I am right now. This is where I'm filming. So I want to show you this place, and so you get a sense of what I have and how I store my collection, and maybe you'll find ideas of like, oh, I didn't know that the game existed, or like, oh, I didn't know maybe games could be stored that way. I know some of you will ask me about the bookshelves that I use, I guess, or the game shelves, or repurposed bookshelves. The shelves, you probably want to know about the shelves that I use. Basically two kinds. One is IKEA Billis, and one is IKEA Noribo. Actually, there's a third kind, which is IKEA Noribo clones. As for the Billis, you will see those when I show you the wall where I store historical war games. It's just your classic Billy bookstore bookshelves from IKEA. I like light colors because, as you can see, the visual pattern is gonna be thick and intense enough. At least I want to keep the color light. The ones that you see behind you are Noribo clones. Now, you may remember Noribo. Those are really good shells. In fact, they're my favorite shells. A little more expensive than the Bills, but the difference is that they have a reinforced area. Basically, if you see it from the side, it will look like this. This is the shelf, and this is the reinforced piece of wood. From the front, it looks just like that. It's a little thicker. And that prevents the shelves from sagging when there is a lot of weight on them. And so I like Noribo a lot. I bought one, and then I wanted to buy more when I realized how good it was for storing games. And then it went out of production. I guess it was so good, people weren't buying anything else. IKEA decided to take it out of their offer, and so what I did, I started using Noribo clones. Night of the Noribo clones. I asked a local contractor pretty much to build me shelves just based out on Noribo. That allowed me to extend the Noribo that I had in all directions to have a regular pattern, and again to have very sturdy, very solid bookshelves, game shelves that do not sag, and so they look also good when I look at them, when I have them in the background. For example, what you see behind you is identical to a Noribo structurally, but it is longer and it is handmade. The wall that I will show you where I have the Euro games, there is a natural Noribo that now has become part of a larger entity. It has been fused with its own clones. I don't know what it feels about that, but frankly, that's a secondary concern. Let me show you how the game works. No, let me show you how my game place works. So when you come to visit for game night, which I hope you do, you don't need to get to the main house, which is here. You just walk through this magic gate, which has been decorated with mystical runes by my daughters. And then you walk through the backyard, actually on this deck next to the backyard, and you see the little building there. That is my game room, or I guess game building. So this is how you do it. Now, here you have a little area, a little storage area. There are some game related materials in there, but nothing special, mainly junk. There is a ladder in there, which is important for reasons that you will see. Actually, the reason is that, as you can see, it's a fairly tall building, and I wanted to use all the space that I could, so the game shelves go high, and so to reach some of the games that are there on top, I need to use the ladder from time to time. So, welcome to my game room slash game building. I'm sure glad that you could come. And so here, just a general look. You can't really see the whole thing in a single look, if nothing else, because there's a divider there. There's a whole other area behind there, but this should give you a sense of how the space works. In the middle, we have the most important thing, of course, which is the table, fairly large. I can accommodate up to 10-12 people around here, so that's great. And then here on this side, so back to next to the door where we were, there is, well, over on top of the heater, we have shelves with miscellaneous games, all of my zombie games there. And again, going higher and higher and higher. As you can imagine, the higher we go, the further we go from eye level, the more likely you are to find games that I don't play all that often and that I need a ladder to get. Games that are in this area here, they're there because of a fairly simple criteria, which is deeper games. Games with long boxes, simply because the shelf here is deeper, and so I can have these games with long boxes and they fit this way. And this is why we have some old classics like Hero Quest, Space Crusade, but also more modern games that have larger boxes. Here there are these mobile things with small games, and I can move them around if need be to reach the games behind them. The reason why these games are here, what do they have in common? Weird boxes, weirdly shaped boxes. And again, we can move these around. Some of my Magic the Gathering cards. Here in this area, we have collectible miniatures. These are just one of my secondary collections. These are Muscle Men. Do you remember those rubber man, weird-looking aliens from the 80s? Well, that's what they are. That's my collection of those. In these boxes and tins, more of those collectible miniatures. Again, not miniatures that you use for wargaming, but just miniatures that you appreciate aesthetically. You collect them for contemplation, I guess. Collectible card games, toys, miscellaneous stuff. Games, old games. Other small games with weird boxes or weird containers that are not easy to stack, and so I just stuffed them in those drawers there. SPI war games, miscellaneous stuff, other small games that go in boxes. Castle Grayskull, that's just what it looks like. Here on this wall, we do have some vintage thematic games in this area here, but mainly this is the wall for historical war games, and it goes past that divider there. Divider that in fact does not go all the way to this shelf, and so as you can imagine, the games that are there in that area, a little harder to take out, but I can still store them, and so I moved these games out, take those out, and it's still possible. Here, the wall of historical wargaming, they're organized loosely by publisher. Say you have GMT here, Columbia, Worthington, and within publisher sections, loosely in chronological order, from more ancient themes to more recent themes. But again, it's very, very loose. The divider, which basically is two large bookshelves, one in front of the other. Here you see the one in front, and that's why it allows me to have the boxes, like those burger boxes, placed that way. Miscellaneous games, and a lot of games that we play as, you know, the second or the third game in a game night. As you can imagine, during game night, I play new games all the time, which is why I can review them. And then, very often we want to revisit a classic, and very often a classic comes from this section here. So they tend to be lighter games, easier to teach or easier to remember if I haven't played them in a while. This wall here, we have Fantasy Flight games here and there, but other than that, it is mainly the Euro section, Euro gamey section. This is why you have Stefan Feld games, TMG games, Stronghold games, and other games of that ilk. There at the end of that wall, you see some empty shelves so that I have room for expansion. I don't need to build new shelves for, I don't know, maybe next 2 or 3 months. So we go up and up and up, and again up there on the very top we have games that I don't play very often. I sure don't want to waste any space, so I even have a shelf right on top of the door that we use to get in. The reason why those games are there and not other games, because they're relatively light. That is simply what those games have in common, why they are there. The guy that built the shelves for me told me that it's perfectly safe, but I still put light games there. And you know, when you come to visit, maybe just, you know, walk in fast. I mean, you came here to hang out with us, play at the table, not just stand there in front of the door, right? So just, you know, just be quick. I think it's safe though. Now, we move to this other area. Interesting enough, remember that shed storage area I showed you from the outside? Basically, here you see this is what it looks like from inside the house. I mean, that wall and that area up there are simply the shed seen from the other side. This means that when we move to the new house, in the trade, my daughters also got a small climbing wall, fireman pole, and a little extra play area there. They love to go up there when their friends come to visit. It's kind of like a little special area for them. Here on this other side, just to give you a general sense of this secondary mini room that we have here. The video game area, I don't play video games very often, but when I do, that's when it happens. Well, unless I'm playing video games on the phone. More game shelf space, miscellaneous games. There isn't a single red thread that runs through all of these, other than I decided to put them here. Here, this is the desk. This is the desk where I actually work, where I prepare my classes that then I teach at Indiana University, or I do email and stuff like that. I remember I told you that I like collectible miniatures. This is where I have my little displays. I don't have enough room to showcase all of my collections, so most of the collection of small toys is stored in boxes, but then I have these rotating exhibits so I can still get to enjoy them. And that's a bunch of muscle men that I still have to inventory, to catalog. I acquired them recently. What do we have here? More empty space for future expansions. Rules for wargaming, for miniature wargaming, and books about wargaming. The final section, or the continuation of the historical wargaming wall. Up there we have collectible card games, a big box full of random Magic the Gathering cards that we use when we play draft, and random games with big boxes. On this side of that thick shelf, remember, basically this is, as you can see, two shelves, one next to each other. On this side of the shelf, we have role-playing games and wargame magazines and folio war games. Up there, binders collecting print and play role-playing materials, expansions, full games, adventures, boxed role-playing games, and then role-playing manuals from the classics, Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder, to all sorts of other role-playing games. More there and more there. And down here we have wargame magazines and folio war games, some stored behind these two moving carts here. And I move them around when I need to reach those wargame magazines. And again, print and play, and this is print and play, wargame rules and similar materials. As for these carts, I use them to store playable miniatures for D&D Attack Wing, Star Wars Attack Wings, like base sets here. And then here in the drawers I have miniatures, pretty much stored in sandwich bags, as you can see. Those for Star Wars Attack Wing, miniatures for Star Wars miniature game, Attack Wing, D&D. And here we have HeroClix. Lots of HeroClix stuff. I think you get a sense. And so this is about it. This is the space. This is what you can expect when you come to visit, which I hope you'll do at some point. We'll sit around this table, we'll play games, we'll have a good laugh, we may drink some drinks, and I need some light snacks, but the game is going to be the thing. Well, the game and good company. Thank you for watching.